all of that in a few easy steps. So I'm going to go back to my main and I'm going to start a brand new document. I do screen size all the time just because unless I'm making a print file, like where I'm actually going to print it directly, I don't care about the size. I just want a screen that I can draw on. So with your Apple Pen, the one really cool feature about the Apple Pen is you can double tap on your Apple Pen, 1, 2, and it's going to switch between my handwriting options and my eraser. This eraser, and this is all of my pen options. If I double click on here, all of my pen options show up. I have a ton. Now, I did not make any of these. I have purchased these from Etsy owners, from Etsy people that have made all these different brushes. And there's a reason for all these different brushes. But I outline everything with monoline calligraphy. If I want this to be different though, say I want this exact brush, but I want to change it, I can click on this and all my different settings for this brush can come up. In this space is where you can really manipulate how your brush works for you. So if you'd like more stabilization, meaning when you're drawing, would you like the line to like float behind you and kind of self-correct? Or would you like it to follow your pen exactly? I'll show you the difference between those two. But that is everything, that's things that you can navigate in settings here. But if I have this monoline right here, what I can do is I can just put my Apple Pen down. Oops, hold on. My iPad is unstable, and drag. When I drag, it's kind of floating behind me. That's not the computer lag that you see. That's actually my drawing lag. And that's because my hands are naturally shaky. And I would like things to be nice and even. Now here's my favorite thing with like a mono line like this. You can directly see it. If I press and I make a line like this and then I keep holding, I don't lift, there is going to be an arch. There's an edit arc. Then you can click edit arc and now you have a shape that you can manipulate. So I can kind of drag it all around. And you can do this with any shape. If you create a line or a shape and then hold your stylus down, it will click into this format to where you can edit it. Now, the other thing I'm doing is I can click with 2 fingers and it will undo what I've done on my screen. So while I'm editing and I mess up, all I have to do is switch from pen to 2 fingers and undo. And that automatically will undo for you. You can also use your 3 fingers to swipe down. And this is where you're going to find your handy dandy copy and paste. This is huge for when I go from like a cutter over. Do I have questions?
We have a question for you. Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Lorenzo wants to know, how do you make the cutters in Procreate? I thought you had to use the laptop to make the cutters with a 3D printer.
So what I do is every file has this little settings button up here, and then I can click share. In share, I can download it as any option. If I click anything from PDF, JPEG, PNG, those can be airdropped, or I just save them straight to my iPad, and then I upload them to CookieCAD. CookieCAD will take that outline and create my cookie cutter. So everything I do here, I just go straight to CookieCAD and I export it via the share function in Procreate. Did that
Sharita
help there,
commented,
Kathy?
yeah. And Sharita did comment she's making the design in Procreate, but she would then take the file into, let's say, CookieCAD, just like we said,
Yep.
and that's where you would make the file for the cutter. Then you would print on the 3D printer.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So I do all of it through Procreate with the 3D printer and then CookieCAD on my, and since I have an iPad and it's supposed to connect all seamlessly to my MacBook, I can literally just airdrop in seconds anything from my iPad to my computer. So it's really seamless. But then when I go from here to Blue, I just upload everything to a Google Drive. So I can take, these are all my little Blue images. Oh, hold on, Procreate froze on me. These are all the images that I've sent to Little Blue from Procreate. I send, there's DIY palettes, patterns. I make everything on Procreate and then I send it straight to my Blue via Google Drive. So I can edit colors, all of that on here perfectly to match, and then just send it straight over to Blue and I don't have to worry about logging into Canva or anything like that. So I truly, Procreate is my life. There's 18 gigabytes worth of storage on my iPad just from Procreate. And so I also create like seamless patterns in Procreate. You can use Canva, but I like to manipulate literally every single bit. And let me show you what a full design in here looks like with layers. Question?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, so the other thing up here, we have our line, we have all of our brushes. This little button will help you manipulate the strokes and everything in here. I'll show you that later. Your erase button, but then this button up here are all your layers. So there I have all my layers. Now, these are all hidden. There's hidden statuses and visible statuses. And that's all in these check marks. I only have this many layers because I was trying to make sure that I didn't lose something and go back because my iPad was glitching on me. It wasn't Procreate. I just created a bunch of duplicate layers just in case. But you merge all of your layers down and create one at the end. So like with this seamless pattern, I have the entire canvas merged down into one image so that all those layers below don't actually matter and I can ignore them. So there's a lot of ways that you can just I can close these groups out and then I don't see them at all. So it's just a matter of your personal organization. I was messing around on this file, so everything was open. But I wanted to make sure that I had something fun. So if we go back here to my blank document, if I have, let's say, what do I have here in my pasted options? I don't have anything right now. Let me go here in my baby. So this is a set I'm currently designing. And in this set, I don't have any of the colors done. However, I can do that really, really, really quickly. Next to your layers up here, I have colors. Now, these are all my color palettes. You can make your color palettes based on your theme. And so I have 1,000,001 color palettes because I make a new color palette for almost every single option. But here's the really, really cool part about the colors in Procreate. you have all these options at the bottom. So you have value, harmony, classic, and disc. All of these items can help you create colors or even your contrasting colors. Let me show you what I mean. So disc will be up like this. So you can see a color wheel. Then you can manipulate all around to get whatever color you'd like. However, you can go to my favorite, which is classic. And this gives you the whole rainbow here. Then you can adjust your saturation levels and you can adjust your brightness or your black and white levels. Then when you get the color you like, you simply click into your palette and it saves that color. And you can go back for reference. So say I'm going to use this turquoise color and I want to color in this baby. Well, I am not doing that step by step and tracing it all over again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the color from up in the corner and you can see it'll be attached and it literally like blows up into the whole screen. That's what happens when you release it too early. But you dropped it exactly where it went, into the entire screen. So I use my 2 fingers, I undo it. Now I go back and I grab my color and I drag it. Oh wait, hold on, stop here. I forgot to select the baby. You have to select your layer. So the one nice thing is when you're working on layers, you cannot affect another layer without clicking on it. So I did the whole background, but now I just want to work with the baby. So I selected just the baby, and now I can click and drag my color directly to the baby. Then it'll fill the image for you. And now I didn't have to go and recolor in that baby. But let's say we want to have yellow stripes within this baby. There's such things as clipping masks. What I do is I go to baby, I click the plus sign. That's going to give me a brand new layer. So I can't do anything because there's nothing on this layer. I'm going to select yellow. And I'm still on my brush that is my straight mono line. I'll show you different ones in just a second. And I'm going to just make a yellow line straight through. Well, I don't want it on the white. I only want it on the blue. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to find my layer that's a yellow line. I'm going to click it. And I'm going to click clipping mask. Clipping masks means that whatever layer you are on, it is going to magnetize to whatever ink you have. So you see how now the yellow line is only where my blue or turquoise ink is. It is nowhere else on that white. So now there's no overlap or overhang. So if I were to print this, I would have that yellow line exactly only where the blue is. Hopefully that makes sense. You can do this with patterns and I'll show you how in just a little bit. Hopefully I'm not going too fast.
You're good. You're good.
So let me show you the different types of brushes and how cool they can be within Procreate. So I've already showed you calligraphy. Oops, let me get my new layer up. These are all imported via text box. I still have all of my capabilities of like a Word document of putting a text box in if I would like to, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But calligraphy options, your monoline here. You see how I move faster? It's kind of like icing, where if you move too fast, it's not going to go exactly where you want it. But if I were to change the stabilization here, so I'm going to change stabilization amount, and I'm going to go down to 25. I'm going to click done. Now watch how it followed directly with my pen. So the increase in stabilization helps it pull behind me, and the decrease helps it stay right with my finger. Then, as I was talking about with the different pressures you can put on, if I go down to something like script, now, as I'm pressing harder on my downstrokes, it gets thicker. And then when I loosen up, it gets thinner. Oop, I made that a whole image because I held too long. See, it snapped to create the polyline up there.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you hold the option too long. So you can draw, you can create. My favorite is I can create a circle no matter what. It'll click, ellipse. Instead, I click circle. Then it turns to a perfect circle. And that's if I have my script brush, if I have my monoline brush, or if I have the other brushes that I'm about to show you. So the next thing I want to show you are my favorite brushes, which help me a lot, are like my flowers and my flower doodles. So these, I have a hard time visualizing exactly where I'm going to place some flowers or colors or anything like that on my cookies. So what I do here is I go in and I find the type of flower that I want, and I can click geranium. And then when I touch my pencil there, it'll create a geranium. I can color it any color I want. I can make it as big or as little as I want. Let me show you how I make it that big. On this left side here, I have this top button, this top kind of like scroll, where I can go from 1 to 100. 1 will be really itty bitty and it shows you that, or 100 will be massive. So I normally sit around the 12 to 10. So that is a 10. And it's kind of like a stamp. But I can also treat it as an image. So if I want to make it yellow, I go to yellow, and then I drag and let it plop. And it plops within the black lines.
Nice.
So I don't have to color in anything like that and take all that time. It does it for me. Then if I want the next petal to be blue, I can change my color and drag it, and now I have my next petal will be blue. The other really cool thing is if I want this entire thing to be blue and I don't want to do every single petal, I drag, it attaches to a petal, and then I just slide over. And the more I slide, the more it colors in. So I slide, and then it goes to that, and then all the way. So you can adjust how much color you put inside of what you're putting in there. The less I go, if I'm scrolling less and less and less and less and less, Oh, hold on, my iPad. I ran out of screen. Here, and then I just keep getting it and it'll be more opaque.
Hey, Don
Now,
has a question for you.
yes.
Where did you get your flower designs?
So I actually searched Etsy for floral Procreate brushes. I got this file, which I will have to pull up. I can put the links. I can send those to Debbie and I can get those sent out to you guys for Etsy, my favorite creators on there. I also have a floral doodle one where they're more kind of like wildflowery and not as realistic with all the lines. And then I have more like leafy patterns. So I can really just input any type of flower that I can imagine between basically any of these brushes. And so if I do this floral 32 right here, and I do it in the blue color, I just tap and it creates that entire floral. Then I can take my colors and manipulate, oops, sorry. I can take my colors and manipulate here and make just that one leaf yellow or whatever other color you may want it to be. So there's just a bunch. I recommend just going to Etsy and typing in what you're looking for, because I have not mastered creating brushes yet. That's a really hard thing that I just haven't figured out yet. I've mastered being able to manipulate them, but creating brushes from scratch is not something that I have mastered, and I'm okay admitting that. I just need to go and find what I have. So the other thing is I have frosting. So people have frosting tips. Here, I can get a shell tip. Let me make sure I'm in my dark color so you can see it. And you can make a shell border. Hold on, let's get it to focus here. And it's literally like a piped shell. I can make it super big so you can see here really quick. It literally looks like a piped icing shell.
Cool.
You can also do the star tip. So I've got the massive star tip. I can make this more opaque by not this top line here, but this bottom one. This bottom one, if I drag it, it'll say opacity, and you can decide how opaque you'd like it. So I can go down to 40, 40. And there's side by side 100% and 40. So it's a really cool and easy way to kind of get some exact kind of icing looks so that you know exactly what you're doing.
And
You
so
can
Sharita
then,
just commented, that's why the cake designers like this program, because they can add this type of thing to their, and to
yes.
what they're doing, and they can see everything.
And that's what's really cool is you can get this frosting texture too, to where it creates the actual look of frosting. And these are only one type of frosting brushes I bought, but there's sprinkles, and you can change the color of your sprinkles and the size of your sprinkles. You can make them multicolored. You can make non-periel. You can make stars, hearts. There's different frosting textures. Literally anything that you want. It shows a star tip, and you can make a rose with a star tip. But then my other favorite thing, which with little blueprinting, I really like this because I'm a pattern gal. If I can get a pattern, I love it. So there are brushes like this. So if I chose this decorative number 14, it creates, oops, hold on, my layer was hidden. It creates 3 equal lines. And you can play and manipulate and draw however you want. Or if I want a dotted line or a dashed line, I can do that. And then I can hold it and it'll snap to a perfect line. So any texture or pattern or anything you can find on a brush, or if you master making them, amazing. This actually is a paper texture. So if I did, it's black because I want you to see it, but that actually mimics a crumpled piece of paper. Now I don't have to go find an image on Canva or go find an image on Google. I can create the image directly in Procreate with a pattern brush. Now, this made my back to schools really easy, or end of school year if you want a crumpled up piece of paper that says school's out for summer. You got a crumpled up piece of paper, and you can make it any color. I can manipulate all the colors still, make it a yellow piece of paper, make it whatever you'd like. Then you can also get brushes that allow you to do watercolor. So these are watercolor glazes over here. So you can literally, like if you're a painter, let me get it in not a yellow, in a pink. If you're not a painter, but you like this, you can make it look like watercolor. So one of my favorite things to do is I like to trace an item in watercolor, and then I can print it on my blue and make it look like I watercolor printed it or watercolor painted it. But all I did was I had a brush that made it look like watercolor, where it pools on the sides and it streaks and it all fits together like that. So brushes are just a tool until you learn how to use them. And you can get so many new things just by doing this type of brush searching. So I've got patterns, I've got chunky checks. I can make checkered immediately. I can make little squares perfectly. So the ease of getting all this stuff onto a design is a brush stroke rather than searching for it in Canva and trying to make it or trying to turn it all into something that we don't really care about or don't really want to waste our time in. So I hope I'm answering everybody's questions so far.
Yep, you're doing great.
If I go here and I take my egg, for example, I'm going to take my outline by dragging, pressing copy, going back to my original document that I'm working out of, and I'm going to paste it. Now, say I want an image from Safari. You can go and let's go grab florals, just because it's easy. And I go to images, see this pattern right here. I can take this, hold it, drag it, and drop it directly onto Procreate. Now I have that exact image from Google in my Procreate document. It's its own layer, so I can manipulate the colors and everything if I would like it to. Say I want this and I want it to be less vibrant. I click the little N right here next to my layer, and it will give me the layer opacity. All I do is I bring that up, and now I have a pale version of that floral pattern. So I have this pattern, but I only want it on this egg. Since there's a hard black outline, although it can be any outline of anything, you can drag and drop any color into the egg. So I'm going to select my egg layer, and I'm going to drag and drop it into my egg. Now, I'm going to go up to my floral, and I'm going to click clipping mask, just like I did earlier. And I'm going to turn the opacity up so you can see it all the way. Now, anywhere I move this image, it's within the egg shape. So if I want just specifically something printed exactly on a shape, but it's within another shape, there it is. So for what I did for one of my graduation cookies is I printed her name on, or her picture. And so let me show you how I did that here. Here is the image that I had printed. It was in this shape. However, that was not edge to edge shape. The shape that I actually had used was this. Whoops, hold on. This lovely arch right here. So that was actually my cookie. My hard black outline was my cookie. And I used this as my template. This template is sized exactly to my cookie cutter. So I can, like I said, I can make it any size that I need it to be. So this is exactly my cookie cutter at 4 inches height. I always make a just basic square because it's just easier for me. But I get the tallest height, call it quits there. I put the outline of my cookie cutter on there, and that's the template. I send that off to the Blue via Google Drive with the template. Then, because I want this shape to stay and the alignment not to move, all I do is I take this color white and I turn my template white and it disappears. That way, the Blue still recognizes that there's something there, and so it doesn't shift the image over, and it keeps everything in line. Then, since that white line is not existent, I can send this off as my print file to my Blue and use it just like any other option. So now in theory, exactly what you do on Canva, or if you use your master shapes in Better Print and then you delete them, that's the same concept here. I just turn mine from black to white so that I don't have to worry about any shifting of my template. Hopefully that made sense. But what I do is I just go share and I click JPEG, and then I share it right to my Google Drive. And then it uploads straight to my Google Drive. I can go over to my Blue computer, download it from my Google Drive, and print it directly onto my Blue. So you can do that with literally any design you create. If you want to edit this picture, you can edit this picture directly in here. You have hue, saturation, brightness, all those things up in this top toolbar over here. This is kind of like your file and edit and help buttons up in Word or Canva or anything like that. And then these are more of your artwork tools to manipulate little things here and there as far as brushes and layers and all that. Now, because I'm on a picture and it'll be really, really, really easy to see, if I click this button right here, which is the pointer finger, this is my smudge tool. Now, what's cool about this is you have all your same brushes. I'm going to choose a soft paint brush. And if I'm still on here, I can just drag and it manipulates and blurs things out for me. So if you have something you want to be blurred out, or if you would like to draw, you can put, let me grab a flower. Like it'll indent into it. And then you kind of get that pattern across her face and across the ink. So the smudge tool is amazing. But let me show you one thing that's even easier. Up here in your little magical wand of tools, you have all your blurs, your motion blur, your perspective blur, blah, 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 blah. You can change anything. So if you go motion blur, and here's your percentages at the very top, I drag my Apple Pencil over. Oh, hold on. I'm on the wrong layer. Make sure you're on the right layer. Motion blur. I grab it and I move it over, and she starts looking like she's about to move. And depending on which way I drag my Apple Pen is which way the motion goes. Undo with 2 fingers. Go back. Select perspective blur. You move this around. Did it go back? No, it didn't. Okay. There's your point of reference, and it blows out from there. And you can change your point of reference wherever you want it to be. And then say I want it to be like that. Apply. And I'm done. So now it looks like her face is not moving, but everything else is. The Gaussian blur is the last one. And that makes everything just kind of blur out completely and blur together. This is actually how I created. Let me show you. I created this on here because I have drawing guides that will show you grids. So you can have a grid up here and you can manipulate the grid so that you know you're doing evened out spaces. But then what I do with this is I can take my blur and turn it into a gradient. I have something overlaying there. That's why it looks like that there. But I can turn colors straight into a gradient. I use this type of thing to create backgrounds for anything, for cookies, for paper, for anything like that. I use my blur and things like that, and just with colors. And that was 2 easy steps of putting some color there and making it blur. Now, there were text boxes on this. You click up in this handy dandy settings and you click add text. Then you have a text box. You type whatever you want. And then it's like Word where you get all of your font options. You can use your kerning and your baseline and move things up and down. You can do outlines of shapes, vertical typing, anything you can think of as far as being able to manipulate a font, you're able to do here. If I want to just change, maybe I want to write my name here, but I want the R to be in this kind of salmony color, and I want the A to be in the orange and the C to be in the blue. What I do is I can click rasterize, and now, Rachel, this image is not a text box, it's an image. This up here is my lasso tool. This lasso tool will help me select things. So I can automatically select, or I can freehand select. I like freehand. And I can circle what I want to move. Click my little button here. And now I'm just moving my R. I can do the same with my A and move my A over. C, move the C over, and so forth. So there is literally no limitation in how you can edit an image in here. And that is how I make my cookie designs that actually look like the cookie set. So this is what I had on my Procreate. And then on my actual cookies that I made, cookies to Procreate.
Nice.
And so I genuinely can make it so that it looks like, let me pull this up side by side. I can draw exactly how the cookies are going to come out, and I know exactly what they will look like. I
You could
can't
do
touch
that for
them.
cakes too, pretty much. It's not just
Yes.
cookies.
Yes, you can do it for cakes. You can do it for anything like that. You can get an outline of your cake or put a picture. What I have done, I have also taken a picture and instead of making my samples for here, I took a picture of just my white flooded rectangle cookie and I inserted a picture right on top. So that's then what I showed my customers. But on my side, all I had to do was take a picture of a flooded rectangle. And then I can edit and put on exactly what I'm going to print and show my customers. So I literally, I don't use anything else for the most part. I go to Canva a lot for little things, but I use Procreate for designing down to creating mock images, down to printing on my Blue. Everything I've done on my Procreate documents here, I have sent to my Blue. And I print, it prints exactly. The other thing is to each document, you can upload your own image. So you can insert a file or a photo. So if you have any sort of photo or image or idea from your customers, you can plop it in. The But you don't have to necessarily pop it in because you have this reference button. If you click reference, an image is going to pop up. And this is a secondary bubble in Procreate that you can move around. And I want to reference an image. So I'm going to import, let's say I'm going to import this image of strawberry cookies because I'm going to design a new strawberry set. Now I have a reference that is not attached to my canvas. So I have my whole canvas to draw on, and I can move my reference anywhere I need to around the screen. And then I can exit out whenever I'm done and it'll just pop away. So you have a lot of different ways to use other programs. If you're on an iPad like I am, you can have multiple tabs open in Procreate and just literally drag straight into your Procreate document and it'll import. There's no need to go through all the craziness of uploading and making sure it's in your documents or in anything. It's not going to store. You can just use your images and anything you can find off your computer, anything straight into Procreate. The only thing it doesn't read where you like import it into a canvas specifically is a PDF, but you can upload a PDF in general to Procreate. You just can't insert it like a picture, if that makes sense.
Totally does.
But you can still use it. So there's not really any limit there on what you can and can't do. But everything I've created tracing prompts for my Royal Icing Cookie classes. I create these right on here, and I used all of my like seamless brushes to create these. I had a raindrop brush, so I used that to make a pattern of raindrops. I have the floral brushes, so I used that. I have an imperfect waffle cone pattern, so I use that brush. All these things you can do and implement in so many different ways. And now I was just talking to Sharita about this the other day. I'm going to upload this to my Etsy and sell it as a digital download for people to purchase and either use for their cookie classes, or I have some of my friends that ask me for this because we're all teachers and they use this in their preschool and kindergarten classrooms for tracing practice. And I can also create like coloring pages if I want to, and then I can upload those straight to Etsy or wherever you want to download them from or sell them off of, and you can make money in 10 minutes. This took me maybe 10 minutes to create, and it was all using brushes I already had. And then I've done it for different themes. So I have Swifties. If you're a Taylor Swift fan, I kept some of the same things and then just changed specific elements. And all these things I did within the matter of 10 minutes. So your ability to create something like this and then just push it straight out to make money is huge. And that's where I've sold my seamless patterns. I've made all my seamless patterns on here. I do everything. And then I sent these as a mock-up to a customer. You can do splatter paint. You can import their logos. You can also erase backgrounds and make it all transparent. So if you want just an image with no background, you can do that on here too. You don't have to have Canva Pro or anything like that. That's the really nice thing. You buy this, it's $10 for the app, and that's it. You don't have to purchase anything else to use every bit of it. If you want to purchase brushes, you can, but you don't have to. Everything else, all the other things I showed you, you have to do absolutely nothing as far as pay for or download. You don't have to import an app, like a tracing app or anything like that. You can do it all on Procreate for the one-time $10 fee. And
That's nice.
like, I designed my entire house on here. Like, this is how I made my new kitchen. And I was working with, I was just working with all these different people and sharing, doing like full on house layouts. So there's really no limit to what you can do in Procreate, which I find really cool. And I kind of like in the Icing Images kind of idea where our competitors have to buy all the trays to do all the things and everything. But once you buy the blue, you don't have to buy anything else to make it work. And that's what I really like about Procreate. I don't have to buy anything else to make Procreate work. I buy it once, and then Procreate is my best friend.